is avoid trying to be perfect. Just attempt to become more awake. Welcome to Fishing Without Bait, a lifetime without definitive expectations, as it is definitive expectations that usually lead us into a life of disappointment and regret. What we do is we help people create themselves rather than find themselves. We ask people to imagine a future where they're being happy, joyous, and free. The only entrance requirement here is the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to try. And if you have a few pixie dust sprinkles of those, welcome aboard. You're on your way. My friends, I am Jim Ellermeyer. I'm a behavioral health therapist. And today I'm joined by my good friend, co-host, and producer of this program, Mr. Mike.
Good to be back on. We've had a great line of guests, and good to have a conversation with you once again, Jim.
By the way, Mike, how many episodes do we have up there now?
Well, Jim, this would be 527 times
527
that we have fished without bait together.
That's amazing. That's a lot of fishing without bait.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we often talk about spirituality on this program. We often talk about different type of philosophies. And one of the philosophies that we often talk about is Buddhism, which is a softer, more type of faith-based thing. And people will often say, be like the Buddha. But Mike, what does that actually mean?
Being a little more accepting of things, for one thing.
Being more accepting, yes. Acceptance, compassion. Yes, Buddhism is based on acceptance and compassion. And it's not like, it is not escaping being a human being. It's being more awake.
Yes.
If you do remember, when the Buddha was asked, are you a saint? Are you a demon? Are you a spirit? What are you? And his reply was, I'm awake.
It's a state of consciousness, if you will.
Yes, it is. More awake, more compassionate, and participating fully in your life. So the Buddha doesn't talk about being perfect. He talks about being able to, or being above ordinary human problems. It means practicing a way of life about being awake, compassionate, balanced, mindful, and free from the grip of craving and reactivity.
And you say being above problems, not being above people. I think that's an interesting distinction there.
Right. We're not above ordinary people or human problems because we are participating in life. We don't walk through life like wondering and not caring or concerned about anything at all. That's not it. So when the Buddha talks about being awake, that talks about seeing life clearly, Mike, with your eyes wide open. How often have we talked about living life with your eyes wide open?
Yeah, kind of more human being instead of doing, right?
Human doing versus human being. So what we're talking about is being awake is not living our life on autopilot. It means noticing what's really happening in and around us and living your life fully with intention. Our good friend Joanna Lowe Anchor, at one time, she had a podcast with us, and one of the episodes was about living intentionally. Living life with intention. So what does living intention mean to you?
Kind of just making choices to move forward instead of just going through the daily routine of things.
Yes.
For instance, which I think a lot of people do, especially with your day jobs and stuff. I'm trying to establish routines, and then I realize I'm becoming kind of numb to doing them and not thinking about them in the process.
So we're learning how to examine that process called metacognition, which is thinking about your thinking. Such as saying, before you send that harsh text or email, instead of sending it and hitting the send button, you pause and breathe and ask, what is the purpose of this?
Or see how I feel about it in the morning, right?
Yes, we often talk about that 5-minute rule in a 12-step world. Wait 5 minutes. So what type of consequences are we going to have? And the 3 gates that a word can pass through. Is it true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? Imagine being mindful, actually being mindful, before you speak about the impact that your words and actions will have on others.
Mhm. Don't react in anger, for one thing.
Yes.
Don't react with an irrational mind. Try to find the rational in it, maybe before you
Yes, the
let
wise,
loose.
rational mind.
Hmm.
Yes. So don't know if you're familiar. There was a band quite a while ago, and the band's name was Asleep at the Wheel.
Hmm.
Have you ever heard of them?
I don't think I've heard about that
Oh,
one.
okay. Sleep at the Wheel.
I know a song, "Asleep at the Wheel," by the Bloodhound Gang, I believe, but I don't know the band.
So this is like life. It's about we sleep. Have you ever heard of someone just sleepwalking through life?
Hmm. I
When
feel like I am from time to time, honestly.
and we all of us do that. Okay, all of us do that. And if we recall, uh, when the Buddha talked about being awake, because actually Buddha means enlightened, the enlightened one. So, and the next one is when we want to be like the Buddha, we want to be more compassionate, and we want to meet people suffering with care. We want to recognize human suffering. The Buddha responds to pain, your own and others, with patience, kindness, and a wish to reduce harm. We don't, being the Buddha doesn't mean that we have to fix everything in front of us,
Hmm.
but we can practice empathy, patience, kindness, and a wish to reduce harm. As we often say, our tattoos mean something, and this one was do no harm. So, generally, what we suggest in being like the Buddha is as long as you're doing no intentional harm to anyone or anything, you do as you choose.
Absolutely.
So, a lot of times the Buddha talks about the middle way, okay? And that's not being vanilla, not being one way or the other, having no opinion. It's the pathway between extremes, okay? It's not being overindulgent, it's not being harsh. It's avoiding extreme burnout and constant arriving. You know what we talk about when we talk about the middle path? We've talked on this show often, Mike, about the feeling in this country, this overwhelming sense of urgency that people feel.
Hmm.
Do you ever feel that yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, my biggest thing now is I feel an urgency that I need to do some stuff before time runs out for me. you know, and you know, I- it just feels like I need to be on thing and doing more. I always feel like I should be doing more than I'm doing.
How often do we talk about making time your ally and not your enemy?
Absolutely. So,
Yes, and making wise mind choices about the time. For those of you who may want to go back through some other episodes, we did a whole episode on using time as currency,
hmm,
being mindful, because we're more mindful about how we spend our money than we spend our time.
yes.
Yes. Okay. So, one of the questions is, can compassion have boundaries? Yes. Compassion is not being a doormat. We don't have to fix everything.
I use a portion of this when somebody's going down a certain path and they say and I feel slighted sometimes, and I just say I do not have the time for that person anymore. They do not get my time, effort, and resources.
We've spoken before on this program about avoiding people that are time bandits
Mhm.
or people that we call emotional vampires,
Yes.
to excluding them from your life and just walking away from that, disengaging. How often did we talk about disconnecting to connect?
Exactly. I think then I think I've talked about a case where I had somebody who kind of let me down one too many times, and I haven't talked to them for a while until I see them kind of work themselves out.
When we're talking about being mindful, it doesn't mean that we're going to go over to Tibet to dress in a robe of rose and saffron,
Mhm.
being surrounded by 10,000 candles gone all day. It's paying attention on purpose,
Yes.
being right here and being right now, being able to observe, describe, and then choose to participate. Most people, when they're walking down the street, wouldn't know if creation was happening 10 feet away from them
Mhm.
because our minds are filled with chatter.
No, absolutely. I think about that, like, I'm close to nature and don't look at it. You go for a walk and are you keep putting your head up, to see what's going on, to see the deer in the woods 10 feet away from me, that's just looking at me.
Well, in the 12-step world, what we often talk about spirituality in the 12-step world, which is much different than what religion is. Religion is based on roles. A
Hmm.
spiritual connection is some type of a undefinable type of connection with someone. And that's really what love is. I had a 10-year-old girl talk to me about love this morning,
Hmm.
and she says, "Jim, it's an indescribable connection."
Wow.
Is what it is. And I looked at her and I said, "You amaze me every time you speak. I've never heard a more perfect definition of love."
Maybe she needs a podcast.
Might take our jobs, buddy.
It'd
Soon.
be nice to have her teach you about life.
I think she is, believe
Yes.
me. So in the 12-step world, we believe that if we're present and aware,
Hmm.
the universe, the creator, the divine, however you want to define it, will put people, places, situations, and things in front of us that if we're there to witness them, they'll have some meaning. So the idea is the more that we work on being mindful, so our life is full of stimulus and responses. And quite often, stimulus and responses are like two pipe cleaners wrestling with each other.
Hmm.
So through mindfulness, through the deep breathing, we develop, however brief a pause between stimulus and response. And in that space is where freedom lives. In that space is where choice lives. And in that space is where your authentic self lives.
Hmm.
I'm Eamon.
I'm Merlin.
And we're a Gay
And His Enby.
Are you a reality television connoisseur?
Do you like it discussed from an LGBTQ lens?
If so, A Gay and His Enby is the podcast for you.
Hear us break down all your favorite guilty pleasure reality shows from Bravo, Drag Race, and just about everything in between.
Listen to A Gay and His Enby on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Spirituality is a personal connection with something. And I thought, how could we possibly contribute more to people's lives like we're doing on the show? And as a result, I've made the choice to become an ordained minister. And as so, I am legally authorized to perform marriages in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Why choose our services over an established mansion of wood and stone? What we do is we offer a non-religious, spiritual-based, mindfulness-based type of bonding of two souls. We are based in the Pittsburgh area, however, am willing to travel and am open to any type of suggestions that would suit you and yours. Our goal is to make this day as easy as possible for both of you and have no worries. Let us handle the ceremony. Please contact the show for our rates and whatever we can possibly do to make that moment in time special for you and to create memories. Practicing those type of things, being mindful, observing, describing, and participate. Quite often I'll take people to a park and I'll say, "What do you see?" And they'll say, "I see trees." Wonderful. How big are the trees? Describe them to me. How tall are they? How tall are the trunks? How would you describe the texture of the trunks? What colors do you see? If it's in the summer, they look and I say, what color do you see? I see green. What difference can you differentiate the shades of green? Can you tell me about the can you tell me about the leaves? Can you tell me about their shapes?
Mhm.
Can you tell me about their contours? And then can you tell me what you're hearing and really what you're seeing and what you're smelling? Can you be right here and can you be right now?
No, absolutely. And it's not this is what's going to make your life easier, but it's going to make your life fuller. There's still going to be the noise that you're going to have to fight against, and keep this kind of center, right?
And again, we refer back to our friend Joanna about living intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Living intentionally. Our life is composed of heartbeats. Our life is composed of moments, not years, moments and heartbeats. And if we live by our heartbeat, wow, imagine how much time you would have. So the Buddha also, when we be like the Buddha, we talk about non-attachment, holding on to things lightly. How often have we talked about that we own nothing? Everything in this life is shared with us. The Buddha says most suffering comes from desire. When we covet something, when we want something, we desire something.
Say, why don't I have that? And that's what causes the pain.
If only I had a better television set.
Mm-hmm.
If only I had a better house. If only I had a nicer car. All of that. If only I had a better pair of shoes. Ifs, ands, and buts, For those, I'm really going to date myself now, Mike. On Monday Night Football, Howard Cosell, Frank Gifford, and Dandy Don Meredith were the three announcers. They really made an event on Monday night. And Howard Cosell was off talking about with this guy, maybe this guy. And Dondy Dan said it always stuck with me. If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
You had more interesting announcers back then. That's for sure.
Yes. So, and again, this goes back to the premise of Fishing Without Bait when we started this 150 years ago. A lifetime without definitive expectations. When we hold things lightly, saying, well, will you get that job? Either I will get it or I will not.
That's funny. I just had this conversation with somebody who's they're in school trying to get a job, trying to further their career, had been let go, and man, dude was messaging me every day. It was like, I think it's going to happen. I was like, you do? It was like, this is a good thing, right? I was like, it is or it isn't, man. Like, don't stop. You don't know it's there until they give you an offer. Don't behave as if it's a sure thing until it's a sure thing. Be okay with that. And I was I don't think he got the message. Thankfully, he got the job. So,
mission accomplished.
Yes. Either way, he made it through. I don't know how much was absorbed. I don't know how much it calmed him through the text machine or talking with him before matches on a Thursday night. But he got the job. He seems to be a lot better for it right now.
So can we have something without being possessed by it?
And it probably took up all of his every waking moment. Am I going to be able to do this?
So he was possessed.
Yes.
By having
we've all
that.
been there, man. Like I'll have a project come up and it's a thing that I think about until it happens, like it's just going to rent space in my mind.
And again, we talk about acceptance, and acceptance doesn't mean approval.
Yes.
But acceptance is always the prelude to change. We have to accept something before we can change it. So being like the Buddha means being ethical, practicing right speech and right action. It's about how we live. The Eightfold Path talks about right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, concentration, intention, and understanding. It's like the 12-step world where we often talk about 12-step recovery is like a design for living. It's a lifestyle. It's a discipline. And so is being like the Buddha. So actually, when you tell somebody, when you say you're being like the Buddha, that's a great compliment. When somebody does something that is deserving of praise, something highly ethical, I will look at them and I say, Jesus, the Buddha, and Allah smile on you.
Absolutely.
I think that's a wonderful compliment. So what we want to do is we want to be, when we're being like the Buddha and we're practicing this type of mindfulness, we're freeing ourselves from reactivity. We're creating that space between stimulus and response. Now, keep in mind that a Buddha-like person is not someone who never experiences anger or fear, jealousy, or grief, but it's someone who learns how not to be ruled by these things, by ruled them. And the only thing that you and I or the rest of our brothers and sisters on this planet have control of is how we react to things. People, places, things, like situations, we have no control over them, but we do have control over how we choose to react to them. That same young lady, about a month ago, she was sitting in front of me and she said, Jim, I was with my brother the other day and I began to become overcome with this feeling of anger. And I looked at her And I said, would you repeat that to me again? And she says, I was having the feeling of anger. And I said, I have spoken to thousands of people, and you're the first one who ever recognized and practiced that concept without me introducing it to you. People are not their thoughts. People are not their feelings. They're not their emotions. Or they could be in control of them, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know I'm puffing her up quite a bit, but she certainly deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of the, we go through this world, and like I said, people, places, things, and situations, if they're put in front of you, then they have some meaning for us. And we learn from every single person that we meet. We learn from every so-called failure. A failure is just something that didn't work, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. So what do you consider a failure? What did you used to consider a failure?
Career trajectory, I suppose, right? I always thought I was supposed to just kind of get a regular job and stay there for 20 years and get a bigger house and all that kind of stuff. But, that's not a realistic thing anymore for me, and that's okay, So I always go back to the everybody wants to wear sunscreen song, spoken word from when I was in my teenage years, saying, all your choices are only half chance. And, sometimes you'll win, sometimes you lose. Don't dwell on having picked the wrong way in that.
So being like the Buddha does not mean that you have a claim of superiority. What it does, the Buddha represents awakening, but it's a practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's progress, not perfection. Yeah. Becoming a lifetime learner. Part of the method and part of the reasons of the 12-step recovery is for ego deflation, is to be humble.
Mm-hmm.
So when we lower ourselves and when we be humble, we can notice old patterns returning. Quite often, when I deal with a lot of addiction, and sometimes when people relapses, I'll just say, we never admonish anybody or shoot our wounded. What we say is, what I suggest is, you've lost your way. Return to the path.
Mm-hmm.
Join us.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me when Pope Francis first addressed the Curia, his opening speech ever addressing the Curia, which is a college of cardinals. He looked at them and he said, "You have lost your way." That went over like a thud.
He said that to the other religious leader.
Yes.
Basically.
The cardinals.
Yes.
You have lost your way.
Wow. That's well centered.
You're off the path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we wander. Everybody wanders, whether from religion, from the 12 steps, from just going toward their personal goals of happiness. And they just need to shuffle back on, right?
The goal, Mike, is to suffer less and cause less suffering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Treat everybody you meet with courtesy and respect.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I wander off the unmarked path because when I'm up at Settlers Ridge and I find myself in a batch of thorns, I just need to find myself way to the next marker and I'll be okay.
Yes. Occasionally, everyone drifts from the path.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we need somebody to tell us that, to remind us, you've lost your way. Return to the path.
And sometimes that message is not as explicit, right? Sometimes you have to find it. Hence the looking at the nature around you.
Well, in the 12-step world, we say that often we don't get into recovery until we call beaten into a sense of reasonableness, not necessarily a physical beating.
Mm-hmm.
But we're looking for these moments of clarity. We're looking for these epiphanies and using the action and effort to make that happen. Being like the Buddha says, we can't think our way into acting right. We act our way into thinking right.
Which goes into the concept of creating better habits that we talk about, right? And creating new ways of thinking, not thinking, but like new patterns, new positive patterns.
So our challenge to everyone this week is avoid trying to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Just attempt to become more awake. Participate in the moment. Label, describe, and participate. And start on your path. You know what they say, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Our challenge is take that step today. And at the end of every podcast, Mike, what we do is we offer a free prescription. Fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. Till all are free, none are free. If we're all not the divine's children, then none of us are. Until then, my friends, namaste.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast.
If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.